Fuel pump cycling, everything seems good. Stepping on the brake. Click. That's all I get. So one thing I checked is the switch on the brake pedal. My understanding is if that's not good, or if it's a bad switch, your brake light won't work. Switch on. Brake pedal. Brake light seems to be working. So I'm going to pull the starter and test it, and that just requires pulling out the two back seats and the plastic panel there. I've seen a couple other guys do it and struggle to pull it out, and I think one of the main obstacles is just things are tight in there, and you just got to get a really good grip on it because there's two O-rings on the starter that inserts, you know, into the receiving mating part, and it's just very tight, and you just got to pull it out and pull it out straight as you can. Got to take out your seats. Just pop out the two seats, as you know, release lever, lift it out, and I'll set those in the front. The seats are out, you got this panel, you got to twist on each side and then pull that out of the way. Then you got to get some of this stuff out of the way. I'll have to grab a screwdriver, remove this hose, there's another breather behind that, and then the starter will be back in there. I don't know how well we can see it with this lighting situation. It's right there, pretty much in the middle of the shot. So I'll get that stuff off, you'll see it a little better. Okay, so the starter's out. I got a little crazier than you maybe need to, but it made it a little easier for me. More time consuming, but easier to dislodge the bad starter. And I have tested it. Pretty simple. On these, you generally have your positive going to here, and negative is usually hooked up to one of these mounting bolts that then grounds to the frame of the vehicle. Same principle would apply to just about any starter. Once you get it out, you want to touch your negative. I usually go where that ground bolt goes, but you go anywhere on the body. It's all connected, but I usually just do there. You're gonna see a little spark. Don't let it startle you. Nothing happening, as you see. This one, brand new replacement. Doing what it's supposed to do. So there you go, simple as that. So I took out the seats, this back panel, and then I know there are different variations of this. I actually was looking for info on it, and I saw a guy had to cut the breather tube in half. Mine actually had a hose clamp here, and then I just had to wrestle it down through there and pull it out. And that gave me room there, and then the bottom part that it connected to the rubber, I was able to just fold that aside to get at these two bolts right here, here and here. And that's all that's holding it on. You have to disconnect your positive. The negative was hooked up to this bottom bolt. And then this one, you disconnect the negative, and then you also have to take the stud completely out. And then this one as well. And then I took off the tail light and assembly, that piece, and that's you know, several screws. You'll have to sort that out. It's going to vary from machine to machine probably. And then also took off the bed, and that's got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 Torx, 4, I forget what size, just, you know, hex bolts. And then underneath each side, a helicopter going over there, so I had to pause for a second. There's I believe it was 1, 2, 3, or maybe 4 screws underneath that needed to be released. And then on the front side, you had 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes. And then that lifts out of there, you know, with a little finesse. So I got that out, and that was, you know, helpful to then get a pry bar in, you know, down into here. I don't know how well you can see, but your starter slides into this. You know, it's kind of the receiving end of the starter goes into there, and it's bolted in 2 spots in the front. And it takes quite a bit to herc it out of there, especially if it's been in there for a while, because it's got 2 O-rings on it, and depending on how old it is, it kind of fuses itself in there, just, you know, with corrosion and dirt, whatever. So I was able to then get a pry bar down in there and pop it loose and then pull it out the front. So now I'm going to put the new one in, and I have tested them. The old one is absolutely seized up, not working, and the new one is working, so we'll put it in and hopefully it solves my problem. So I did put a little grease on the 2 O-rings and, you know, that part of the starter to help it go in a little with a little less muscle needed. It's pretty stubborn getting that other one out. I apologize for the light. I'm working in a trailer. The weather's kind of hokey today. Anyways, we'll put this in, I'll get it all wired up, and I'll give it a test, and we'll see if that solves the problem. it went in really easy. You know, I took those 2 bolts out. I left them in just so I knew where they were, where they accounted for. Didn't get lost. I took them out to give me room, pushed this aside, and then put it in and just kind of give it to line up the spline with the receiving part, and it just slid right in. So now I just got to put 2 bolts in there, hook up the positive, you know, to the positive terminal here on the side, and the negative was on the bottom post here, and this other, you know, mounting bolt. I guess I put the breather back on as well. So, and then give it a test with the key. And if everything's good, then I'll put all the rest of the parts on and be off and running. I'll let you know here in a minute. Everything's hooked back up, positive, negative to the starter. Probably can't see anything in there anymore now that I put these back on. These are my version. 1 hose clamp there, and I stuffed that up and out of the way. And then another hose clamp where this one connects, and I just wrestled that out of there. So that's all hooked up. The only thing to do is put the body parts back on and the seats back in. But I'm going to give it the old smoke test here and see what happens. All right, let's see what we get here. Fuel pump doing its magic. Foot on the brake. There we go. Tried it a few times, starts right up, no issues. So now I'm going to pull this thing out of here and then put the rest of the body parts on. I know this wasn't a complete video with all kinds of wrenching and how to get this off, how to get that off. Hopefully I covered it enough. You know, and if you're thinking of tackling this, you know, you should be able to figure out how to get the body parts off without me showing every single screw on it. I mainly just wanted to show what the symptoms were for mine, how I tested the starter, and that it solved the problem. And that's it. And if you have similar, hopefully it works out as well for you. Thanks for watching.